Shonen protagonists are without a doubt some of the biggest names in the medium of anime, with characters like Goku, Eren, and Naruto making their way into mainstream media. Even your grandma probably has a hot take on Goku's drip or Boruto's dad's new cut.
Do you have blue balls?
These characters oftentimes become landmarks of their era of anime, defining it as much as the show they're a part of, becoming synonymous with the genre in general, and becoming merch and figures and the topic of many a YouTube video essay. Which is why, in an era of dark shonen fantasy with extremely popular shows like Chainsaw Man and Jujutsu Kaisen, Gabimaru, the Hollow of Hell's Paradise, stands out. Now, with the anime on the horizon, I'll be talking real generally about Gabimaru since I don't want to spoil too much, so light spoiler warning here for the first few manga chapters. I'll also be talking about a number of other shows for comparison, especially Jujutsu Kaisen and Chainsaw Man, so there you go. Hell's Paradise is the story of Gabimaru and Sagiri, two characters who begin the series at odds with each other. Gabimaru is a criminal sentenced to death for the atrocities he's committed as a ninja assassin, and Sagiri, a member of a samurai class of Asaemon, known for their brutal beheadings and skill with a sword. Now, I made a whole video on the opening story of Hell's Paradise. Check it out if you haven't already. That goes way into depth of who these characters are and what exactly Hell's Paradise is. But suffice it to say, the world of Hell's Paradise is one that is tragically beautiful and horrifyingly violent. It's a series that relishes in frequent bloody encounters and long drawn-out combat scenes where the battles often end in death for the loser. In that way, the consequences of this world are heavy, with long-lasting effects on both a person's physical and mental state. And this push and pull between the hyper-violence of the world and the beauty that can be found within it is at the core of Gabimaru's character and is what makes him so strikingly interesting. Gabimaru was raised as a ninja in the village hidden in the rocks. It's a village that sounds a lot like something out of Naruto, and in a way, it is. It's a village that trains children to be ninja and sends them out on missions to complete. However, unlike the Hidden Leaf Village, where there is a strong sense of moral good, the elders of the village hidden in the rocks are interested in power and influence above all else. Children are trained to be emotionless and unfeeling. They are taught how to kill and be unkillable, and told if they try to leave the village, only death awaits them. Needless to say, it's a heavy and horrible place to live, but is the world Gabimaru comes from. Gabimaru, however, is different from this. While he has spent a life killing and getting really, really good at it, he had something happen to him. He got married. Now, keep this in mind. Gabimaru is 16 years old, and this marriage was an arranged marriage to the village chief's daughter, but his relationship with his wife changed him as she reinforced his kindness and gentle nature and assured him that he's really not hollow after all. By the time we meet Gabimaru, he has lived a life with much more experience than other shonen protagonists in similar shows. At the start of Jujutsu Kaisen, for example, Yuji is a 15-year-old boy and totally ignorant of the world of sorcerers and spirits. His relationship with death is pretty new, losing his grandfather early in the opening chapters, and at least in the beginning of the series has never killed anyone or anything, which becomes a place of difficulty for him later on as he learns how to carry that weight. Denji, on the other hand, is the same age as Gabimaru and similarly lived a pretty shitty life. However, while Denji is for the most part childish and immature, more interested in boobs than anything else at the start of his story, Gabimaru is grappling with the larger question of identity after years of abuse and grooming from his time in the village, while also hoping to grow his love and relationship for his wife, should he make it home. In this way, despite being a fierce, action-packed shonen battle series, Gabimaru's approach to violence and his motivations behind it are surprisingly mature by his contemporary standards. His ability for violence and ability to kill really being used for their utility to survive the vicious hellscape of Hell's Paradise, rather than something more generic like becoming strong to protect people or becoming strong for strength's sake. Which, as far as anime is concerned, is totally fine. It is not meant to disparage those stories or their characters. But in reading this manga and learning about Gabimaru, it's easy to assume that we're watching the story of someone in their late 20s or early 30s, rather than someone who might as well be in high school. Beyond this, as a fighter, Gabimaru is extremely interesting. The precedent is set early on that Gabimaru is at the top of his game. That all of the criminals wrapped up in this survival death game on the island is that he's the strongest, or at least considered amongst the other criminals in the series as the most dangerous. His reputation for being a killer is well known, with some characters commenting that he's a legend amongst them. So the question is then, if Gabimaru is already the strongest character in the cast of characters that make up the early chapters of the series, how do you create interesting fights for him? The answer then is to go the exact opposite direction of a series like One Punch Man. Rather than lean into his strength for comedic effect or as a way to show off other characters in their struggles before being rescued and saving the day, this series does something entirely different. The world of Hell's Paradise and the island Gabimaru finds himself in is littered with creatures and monsters unmistakably inhuman. Creatures with multiple arms or hulking bodies made up of parts of animals or deities. They are confounding and odd and most importantly unfamiliar. This creates opportunities for Gabimaru to flex his versatility of options in combat on creatures that don't feel or move or bleed like the opponents he's used to. His strength then is used to showcase creativity in combat and gives the space to get really creative with his abilities rather than something like Jujutsu Kaisen where Yuji's progress comes episodically. First, Yuji punches things, then he gets a cleaver, then he learns how to manifest curse energy in his fist. It's kind of like a 1, 2, 3 set of abilities and adaptations he learns over time. Gabimaru has all of these options open to him at the start of his series and has the ability to go all out on enemies that on the mainland would be considered overkill. Because the enemies here are so varied and new, you're never really sure if he's safe or not. So in the moments when Gabimaru comes up against enemies he can't beat in a straight fight, you know that things are about to get heated. It's an example of introducing a character that is seemingly OP or unstoppable, only to later learn that there are forces at work that are beyond what they can normally handle, and makes for some really interesting storytelling that goes beyond anything we're used to. All in all, if I can make a prediction, I'm going to say that Gabimaru is going to quickly become a lot of people's favorite anime character, virtually overnight, or at least maybe their favorite anime character of this year. And if the trailers are anything to go by, MAPPA seems to really be pulling out their A game for this one. So I'm excited, guys. I hope you are too. Thanks for watching. See you later.